Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Power On Weekly, your weekly podcast hosted by yours truly, Irving Legend and Allie Mayhem.
Hi. Hi.
Welcome to our very first episode of Power On Weekly, our podcast that we do weekly.
Starting to do weekly.
Yeah, starting to do weekly. Sorry, this is our very first episode, obviously. So thank you for joining us, first of all.
Thank you for enduring the awkwardness that's gonna be kind of getting used to talking in front of a camera again.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been a hot minute.
It has been a hot minute. We used to stream a lot. We used to do YouTube occasionally. This is our first time ever attempting a podcast, so we appreciate your patience and hope you enjoy. Now, being our first episode, we kind of need to introduce what Power On Weekly is, right?
What is POW?
What is POW? Yes.
POW for short.
So, Power On Weekly is a podcast that I had been thinking about doing for a long time now.
Long time.
Yes.
Years,
yeah. About 2 years is what, I've had this inception in my mind for a really long time.
I kind of believe that this is what you originally wanted your YouTube to be in general. Like, you wanted, to do what you did, but I kind of feel like deep down this is like the direction you were wanting to head, realistically.
I think now in hindsight, I think that's exactly what it was. I'm a big fan of video game news. I'm a big fan of just always knowing things that are going on in either pop culture, video game news, TVs, animes. Like, I love being in the know. And I think what Irving Legend was something along those lines, where I was trying to be kind of like a GameSpot or an IGN or
your
like
own personal journalism, though.
Yes.
Not per se like creating like a big network. You wanted it to be you.
Yeah.
But journalism.
Yeah, which is something that I never really put two and two together, ironically.
You didn't.
Yeah, I just thought I'll just start a YouTube channel and I'll talk about these things, but it really didn't have a lot of structure or But I think this is what it ultimately was supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think you're definitely right on that. Now, you might be wondering, so what you've talked for a little bit. Now, what is Power On Weekly? Well, it is a weekly podcast where Allie and I will sit down and we'll just discuss the things that happened this week, basically.
Yeah. It can be primarily gaming.
Yes.
Could be pop culture. Could be tech. Could be anything kind of in that realm of interest.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're big nerds about a lot of things. We're huge nerds about video games, obviously. We love anime. That's actually something that we really bonded over when we first started dating. Sword Art Online. Yeah, it's trash, but it's okay. I love movies. Alyssa is not really that big of a movie buff, but she enjoys them occasionally. So I love talking about movies. And then, just pop culture in general, where that's where nerdism is. So I think that's right up our alley. No pun intended. So that we'll talk about what's happening on that week. So for an example, like today, our first episode, we are going to talk about the PlayStation 5 event that happened on Thursday.
So that was big deal.
Yes.
Long time coming.
Yes, exactly. So we'll talk about that today as an example, and with the introduction and with the PlayStation 5 event, I think that'll be good for the first episode. But
absolutely,
moving forward, we'll talk about releases that are coming up, upcoming games, upcoming movies, or news that is coming out. Right now we're in big E3 territory. Well, what technically was supposed to be E3. So that's what most likely June and July will most likely be, basically.
Yeah, all the big news that was supposed to be announced at E3 that'll be coming out slowly and dripping out since stuff happened.
Yes, exactly. So the goal for this podcast is just to give our personal opinion on these things. Again, this is all personal opinion. We may have our bias here and there, but it's mostly going to be personal. But I do want to also keep it kind of professional.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're not a news network.
Yeah.
We're not a news podcast. We're kind of it's kind of going to be a news and opinion.
Yes.
So.
For an example, the PlayStation 5 event, like everybody knows, like everybody's already seen it. They don't need to come to us to be like, oh, what's
what
the
was
news?
Released?
Yeah. I would like for people to come back to our podcast and be like, oh, this big thing happened this week. I wonder what Irving and Allie are going to think about it. Like, oh, like this topic here, it might be a little, you know, divisive because Irving likes this or Allie doesn't. So that's kind of what I want people to kind of come back to our podcast for.
And you want that because that's what you enjoy in a podcast. So it kind of comes like full circle.
Exactly.
Into that's why, like what is your inspiration for this? Like, where are you taking inspiration and what is inspiring you to do this? What was your...
So the biggest and obvious inspiration is any video game podcast news, but or podcast, but specifically like Game Scoop from IGN. They're really funny, and I personally do that whenever something's coming out on the week or something happened in the week. I always know that they're going to talk about it, or even if they don't talk about it, it's always fun to kind of get an insight as to what they're thinking, because I personally enjoy them as people, you know. I love Damon, I love Justin, I love, you know, Tina and Sam. Like each of them have their own unique things about them. Yeah. That I'm always like, ooh, I wonder what Sam's gonna think about. And that's kind of what I want here for both of us. And then occasionally what I also want is to bring on people as well. So like we bring on some of our friends like Justin or, you know, Skylar, or somebody who's like maybe like really, really into whatever the topic of the week is, right?
For sure.
So an example could have been for bringing Justin here for the PlayStation 5 event. He was really hyped about it. There's a lot of things that he really liked.
And he knows more than we would.
Exactly. And so like having him on the show this week would have been great. But,
for sure.
But it being our first show, I wanted it to just be the both of us.
Yeah. Like had timing been a little different, that's exactly where we would have gone, because we don't have a PlayStation. Yeah. We'll be completely transparent and honest. So like having Justin here who has both PlayStation and an Xbox, he would have been a really good candidate to like discuss it, because he understands more of that stuff. But it doesn't mean we can't have opinions, and it doesn't mean we can't still discuss it. But like Irving was saying, like on a normal week, once we kind of get in the groove and kind of have a system on what we're doing, that's definitely something we would be expanding on, is having guests come in that can have a little more maybe insight on a topic or something, or just even an additional opinion is always something definitely interesting to listen to and hear. For
sure. Like they don't have to necessarily be an expert in whatever it is that week is. Like maybe I just want to have somebody on here just to have an extra voice and opinion and stuff like that. And I would hope that people would also be kind of like looking forward to those people coming back on. So like if we do have regulars like Justin or Skylar or something like that, they'd be like, ooh, this week Justin's on, and you know, like he's gonna have something good to say, you know. So
absolutely.
Besides, you know, us as well as our opinion, but you know, something that I also really wanted to like a goal that I want to kind of accomplish with this is having that sort of connection with people who are listening. So I want to, you know, invite everybody to our Discord, obviously. So if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll put that in the link, as well as follow us on social media at Irving Legend or at Allie Mayhem, right? And really get involved with like, hey, like talking to us, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you know what I want is like maybe bringing like questions on from like someone who might tweet at us or something like that about an opinion on the week, and we highlight that tweet. We're like, hey, you know, Digi asked us what our opinions are on this, and then we talk about that. And I like having that connection, having that like kind of like fans also be involved in it.
Yeah.
So because I know I would really appreciate that from a podcast and stuff. So
yeah, like the more being involved and having it be also just a conversation. Like that's a big thing that I know that is inspiring. This is the fact that Irving every day has some sort of conversation about something going on in the gaming world. And I think this is really just kind of bringing that conversation to the forefront and bringing that conversation into a wider pool of people. Yeah. And yes, it's like a lot of it's going to be a conversation between me and you, but I know that that's what's driving this is kind of the community and just having a conversation outside of just me and you or the small amount of people that you normally would. Like, Irving loves to talk. And he really loves to talk about gaming, like you said, gaming news and all that. So it's this is kind of just like what is it, like
like an expression or like
not necessarily, just like an expansion of the conversation you would normally want to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like anytime, friends are over, whatever it may be, or I'm hanging out with my cousins or family or friends, like it's the thing that always connects us is the video game talk, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
And to be able to do this weekly is like that's what I want. I want to be able to just sit down for 30 minutes to an hour and just talk about
talk.
Yeah. Exactly. It's not that I love talking, I just love talking about video games.
Yeah.
So with that being said, as far as like weekly goes, so the goal of this is for us to record on Sundays. So we're currently recording on Sunday, the 14th, okay? Mm-hmm. So we're currently talking about, dang, I should have had this, basically last week. So Monday through Saturday. Mm-hmm. Sunday, usually nothing really comes out as far as news goes. So for an example, like I think on the 9th, Destiny had their thing. So that involves that week as well.
Yeah.
And then.
It'll be everything coming up from.
From
Sunday to Sunday, basically.
Pretty much. Yeah. So.
And we'll do our best to release every
Monday, exactly.
Yeah.
So we record this on Sunday, okay, and then I edit it, put it all together, put it on YouTube, and be out by Monday morning, basically. And that is our goal. That is what we're planning on doing.
We're structuring to try and keep it consistent.
Exactly. Now there might be something that comes up, either we have work or we're out of town for the weekend, so we'll make up for it some way or another, and
podcast or maybe releasing a day or two later.
Yeah, either later or early, depending on.
We'll always know in advance, and we'll always kind of give that.
Yeah, which is exactly why you should be on our Discord and follow us on Twitter. Yeah. Now this is also being broadcasted on our LxMDuo page, our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That's already well established. Everybody's already on there, so that's where we're gonna put it. And then we're also looking into ways that we can bring this podcast to like Spotify or iTunes and stuff like that. Because I know that a lot of people they don't listen to podcasts on YouTube, right? Especially like in a video format like this. Mm-hmm. Like I like video podcasts because then you can see them and like interacting and talking and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not the norm.
Exactly. But realistically, people are listening it to in their car, on their way to work, during work, or something like that. So I completely understand why audio podcasts are obviously better.
More popular.
Exactly. It's it's easier for people to be able to enjoy. And
consume.
Yes. So we will hopefully get to that. Again, that we're really new at this, obviously. So just we'll kind of figure it out on the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the long rundown, but
yeah,
we felt like it was kind of important on the very first episode to just kind of explain what we're hoping to accomplish and what we're working on and what our overall goals are for this, so that if that sounds cool to you, then you're on board. And, just kind of give you something to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean that is the biggest thing too. That like it's. Hopefully this comes to you on, Monday when you have to go back to work and you're like, but I mean, at least Power On Weekly's on. They'll talk about the things that happened last week. And we get to, hang out with kind of cool people, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, that is the goal of what we're doing here.
And we'll get more comfortable and it'll be a little more, not energetic, but it'll...
streamlined or more structured.
The first few episodes might be a little rough, and we're kind of rambling on right now, so I apologize, and that's probably bound to happen. But yeah, we're working on the structure.
Yeah,
and so just bear with us a little bit on these first few weeks.
Yeah, but I hope that that clears up what this podcast is, and I sincerely appreciate you joining in and tuning in. It really means a lot to me. And if you have any suggestions or, whatever it may be, then just feel free to let us know.
Yeah. Tweet, Discord.
Yeah.
Anything.
All that fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right. The future of gaming.
The future is here, boys.
PlayStation 5's event was on the 11th, which I think was Thursday.
Yes.
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 They originally was supposed to have this event last week. But due to everything going on in the world,
current events,
yes, they said that right now was not the time. And although people were upset, it's completely understandable, and I think they made the right call.
Yeah.
These games aren't going anywhere. You seeing them early isn't going to make a difference as to when they're going to release. So I think it's fair that they did this.
I think it's good they didn't wait too long, though, because I think current events are really important, but I also think that people need something nice to look forward to right now. With the state of 2020, I think it's good to that people have had something to look forward to and be like, all right.
No, for sure. And boy, did they make a statement. Yeah. We should just get this out of the way. Allie and I, we prefer Xbox for a couple of reasons.
We're not fanboys.
We're definitely not fanboys.
I feel like we're really good about being really biased, or no, unbiased. Unbiased is the word, not biased.
Yeah. Allie played a couple of PlayStation. You grew up with a little bit of PlayStation, but when you grew older, you got an Xbox because that's where all your friends were, right?
Absolutely.
And the same thing could be said for me as well. My first online multiplayer experience was Halo 2. And from then on, I was just like, dude, Xbox all the way. Okay. Not to say that PlayStation has a bad online experience, but it's just that's what we decided to go with. Right. I see both sides of Xbox and PlayStation, pros and cons. And I don't ignore the fact that Xbox has a lot of some issues with it, but I don't get blinded by the PlayStation exclusivity to the point that some fanboys do, because some fanboys will literally just throw that in your face and they expect that the conversation's over. But anyways, the Future of Gaming event was this week, and IGN said 37, but I counted 25 games during this event.
Are there things announced elsewhere?
Maybe. Regardless, that's a lot of things.
Yeah.
We were sitting there and I was like, they're still going.
Oh yeah, no, we thought, okay, surely it's almost over. It's been an hour. And
yeah, it's about to hit an hour.
Going.
Yeah. And to the point where I even looked at you and I was like, man, it's like an hour. Like, they're not going to show the box at all.
Yeah. Oh, no. I thought from halfway in, I was like, I guess this is just a game release or just a game show.
Yeah.
Like, we really didn't even think they were going to end up showing the actual console itself.
Yeah, I didn't at the point to where it got an hour. I was like, this is a long show and longish.
They're gonna hold off longer, I guess.
Exactly, but man, they and this is the reason why I think they really knocked it out of the water with this, out of the park. Is that they showed a good amount of games, a lot of exclusives, obviously, but at the end of the day, they also showed the box as well, and not just one box, but two.
Ooh.
When we'll get to the box in just a bit. I kind of want to go in order of how everything went down. Okay, so 25 games that I counted. 2 of them have already been kind of shown off before, which is Godfall and Deathloop. Now, Godfall was shown off during the Game Awards show.
Okay. And
they showed it off, and it looked really cool. And then at the end, they were just like, "Oh yeah, PlayStation 5." So we're like, "Wait a minute,
well,
there's a PlayStation 5 game?"
Well, it sounds like. It looks like it's also on PC, so I imagine that's why it got shown off earlier, and it wasn't as much of a like they were like, yeah, just get that one out, you can show that one off because it's not an exclusive. We don't really care.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's whatever it was. I think at the end of the day, it was really interesting that it was just like PlayStation 5. Yeah,
you're like.
Because it literally got showed off after Xbox already announced. Like, they showed off their console. Yeah. They showed off the Series X. And then all of a sudden, it's just
they just slid it in.
Yeah, they're just like,
there you go.
Yeah, it was weird. Deathloop was also announced last year at E3. That one's made by Arcane Studio.
The Assassins?
Yes, with the Assassins.
The one that I liked. That looked really cool. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure I've got... I didn't know that one was previously shown off.
Yeah, they showed it off at E3 last year. It's made by Arcane Studios, the people who do Dishonored and Prey, which I love Dishonored.
I know you do.
That's such a good game. And from what we saw in the gameplay, it looks like... I'm not going to lie. There was a section that I was like, I'm pretty sure that's reused assets from Dishonored.
You did say that.
As soon as it opened, I was just like...
Another Dishonored?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I was really confused. But they started off the show really weird with GTA 5.
Yeah.
Like, Rockstar must have just gave them a bunch of money to just be like, hey, can you just put this in the beginning of your show?
Yeah.
And like,
it kind of was not a great start though, because you're like, oh,
yeah, we're talking about a game that has already been on two previous
consoles.
generations.
And that's your big start. Okay.
It was interesting, needless to say.
Yeah.
But at the end of it, they did say that it's anyone who owns GTA 5 currently right now on PlayStation 4 gets it, basically. Yep. And PlayStation 5 Plus members also get, I think, $1 million on the GTA Online.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not in real life, just online. Yeah. But right after that, they came out swinging. Spider-Man Miles Morales. That was pretty hype. I was set for it. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is arguably it is my favorite Spider-Man movie. I've told you that before. I know you didn't really like the art style and the frame rate.
That's another conversation for another day.
It is, but
I just couldn't get over. I like what they did with the frame rate. I know we've watched the thing where it explains like, oh, it's like it like has meaning.
Yeah.
But it just looked like a glitched game to me, and I just couldn't, like, I sat down and watched, like, 10 minutes, and was like, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Which was unfortunate, because I hear it's so good.
Yeah.
Someday I might be able to get over that. But yeah, anyhow, so.
Yeah, so Miles Morales, that was shown off, and that looked beautiful. It looked great.
Hopefully that won't have skipping frames, and I can play it.
Okay. Well, yeah. Which was this game was shown, and it's kind of bittersweet because it wasn't until after that we learned that this is not
a standalone though.
It's a standalone.
But it's not a full experience.
It's not a sequel. It's not a full-on sequel. So what they described it as like Uncharted Lost Legacy that came out after Uncharted 4, and it was like a kind of smaller game. It wasn't like a full-fledged game. So that size of it.
Is it gonna have a full price tag? That's the question.
That is the question.
And are you gonna have to? Can you buy it as a standalone, or are you gonna have to buy it as a bundle? Like, there's just some. I think there's some questions that need to be answered on that.
It is, yeah. There is a lot of questions that I have with that. Price being one thing, but the other thing as well is that like Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man that came out on PlayStation 4. That's on PlayStation 4. They're not porting it over. As far as I know.
I thought maybe it would come out as like a bundle, like a remaster, and would make sense.
As far as we know, that's what we have so far. And I mean, we talked about this off camera, but we were like, that's very Sony of them. They're very, and we'll talk about this later too, but they're very in the mindset of like just traditional console launches.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
So like they're making games, and they're making a new console, and they're making games for that console. And yeah, and kind of like screw your PlayStation 4. That's kind of not what it feels like, but it's hard to ignore it. Am I right? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's kind of hard to. It's just and we'll go into this like we said later. Yeah. But Microsoft and Sony just have such different ideas on how to move into a new generation of gaming, and it's really obvious in things like that where
yeah no, for sure. I mean,
that was great.
No, but you're right, and we'll see what happens with Spider-Man Miles Morales. Like maybe they'll have a bundle that they'll do like a remaster, or it's weird to call it a remaster, or definitive edition of the original Spider-Man with all the DLCs plus this game for full price or something. But I don't know. It's with Sony. It's kind of strange, but
it's not even just. Here's the thing: is it's not even just Sony. I think it's just like it's Japanese developers.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. Like just like for some FYI, like I work with Japanese companies. So like I understand like the Japanese mindset is like they're so creative in certain ways, but then they get stuck in these ideas. Like in a Japanese corporate environment, it's very much, well, this is how it is, and this is how it always has been. So I think that's where things start to differ with like Microsoft and Sony. Because I mean, even if you look at Kingdom Hearts, like look at how that whole thing went down, where it was like very traditional mindset, and they were like, oh, Kingdom Hearts 3, we're only going to release Kingdom Hearts 3 on the Xbox. Like, why wouldn't you have created a bundle? Because if you have people who have, this is going so off topic, I'm so sorry, but like, why wouldn't you have created a bundle for the people who maybe never did have an Xbox, or not. Let me start over on that.
A PlayStation.
Never had a PlayStation and didn't play those games because who's going to jump into the third game
on Xbox?
On Xbox,
exactly.
Like, so they were like, here you go, Xbox. Here's this thing, and I think it's just the mindset of like you said, it's like this is how it's always been done, and this is how we're going to do it, and who knows if there'll be a definitive version. So it's not even just Sony.
Yeah.
I think in this, I think it's just the two different mindsets of how things are ran.
Yeah.
Between like East and West. You
yeah.
know?
I mean, like I really didn't think about that until you pointed that out, and I was like, yeah, makes total sense. You know, this is just our speculation, personal opinion, but I mean that's kind of what we kind of assume just due to having that knowledge and stuff.
Well, like I said, and I like to just preface that with I'm not just biased. Like I do work with Japanese companies.
Yeah.
And my Japanese coworker is like, I live in America and I have a hard time with how Japanese think now because I'm so used to the Western way and just things don't get done or things don't change or like
well, for sure.
She sees both sides. So I hear from her all the time about like, well, no, that's just how Japanese are, you know?
Yeah.
That's how they are.
It really be like that.
The Japanese really be like that. So it's just two different ways of like running things and decision making, and I think sometimes it's a little hard to like grasp why. But I think people forget that like Sony is a Japanese company and Microsoft is an American company.
Yeah.
So there's two completely different ways of running those companies.
Yeah, Papa Bill Gates is definitely not Japanese, that's for sure.
What?
Immediately after Spider-Man, Gran Turismo 7 was shown off, which, I mean, if you're going to show like the power of a console, you show it in a racing game. Forza is the exact same way. When you know, later on in July, when Microsoft has their showcase, Forza 8 is going to be on there, and they're just going to show off how beautiful it looks. Now, granted, it kind of didn't work because they were streaming this at 1080p 30 frames per second. So it's not really the most high definition that they were streaming it on YouTube.
So you'll get it. It'll look even better.
It'll look even better, but yes, exactly. But for them showing it off right now, it was kind of like
underwhelming, because it doesn't really show the power because it's a stream. And,
it doesn't translate well.
But if you were blown away, then you're gonna be like,
yeah, exactly.
when you actually play it.
Yeah. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart also was announced, and I think a lot of people were like looking at that game and they're like, oh sweet, another classic game coming back, all this other stuff and whatever. But I don't think they understood that game showed the most, like, the PlayStation 5 at like its full power. Now PlayStation 5 specs and Xbox specs, they're kind of similar, but Xbox is kind of beating it a little bit and most of the like the specs on the PlayStation 5. But the thing that the PlayStation 5 trumps over the Xbox is no loads. And the SSD is so crazy. And that
game showed it off.
Exactly. Showing Ratchet and Clank literally going through different worlds. Like that's unbelievable. Like Ratchet grabbing grabbing that like yellow rift, literally being transported to there. Like that's huge.
That was an in-game render, right?
Yeah,
correct?
That was with PlayStation 5. Yeah.
Because I think because I'm not like as techie as like some people are, like you are.
Yeah.
So I was kind of just like, oh, like that's so cool, like not realizing until after the fact and like people talked about it that it was an in-game thing. I'm like, oh, that was a really cool video to show off.
Yeah.
like I had no idea. When people started explaining like, oh yeah, that was in-game, that was blah blah blah, like that's like the no load thing that they keep like bragging about. I was like, oh yeah, oh, I get it now.
Yeah, so just imagine like you're playing like like Halo, right? And you're playing like what is it, that island level. Anyways, you're playing one level. No, I'm just saying in general, like you're playing a Halo game and you're like on one level, and then you like can seamlessly transport into literally another level further on, like on Reach or something, right?
Yeah.
The beginning level all the way to the end. That's kind of what
that's what they're going basically for.
Yeah, that's what they showed off. The fact that they can literally just load in a new world like that, and it wasn't like pre-rendered or anything like that. So I guess that was really interesting. And I mean, Ratchet and Clank is cool in general, right? That's one of their staples that PlayStation has always had.
My grandpa loves that series.
Yeah.
Like my grandpa buys PlayStations primarily for Ratchet and Clank.
Well, he's gonna buy a PlayStation 5.
Oh no, he probably will. I could call him right now and he'd probably be like, yep, the minute the pre-order comes on.
That's funny.
That's what we need on here. My grandpa, he's the PlayStation fanboy. My grandpa loves PlayStation.
Oddworld Sandstorm was also announced, which Oddworld it's an odd game. It's not really something that I was really looking forward to. I was surprised that it was there. I was like, this is such an old franchise, but
how old is it though? Because I don't recognize it.
I mean, it was from like the 90s, yeah.
I don't know, maybe I just, because like that's when I had a PlayStation, so that's when I'm just like, everyone's like, oh, Oddworld. I'm like,
yeah, it looks really dark. I don't know. Ghostwire Tokyo. This was also showed off at E3, I think. This is a really crazy, trippy looking game, but I think the thing that has us excited the most is the fact that we can go revisit the spots in Tokyo. Like when we saw like the Shibuya, Tokyo Tower, Shibuya, Tower. Yeah. It was just like, oh, Tokyo. It looks cool, really psychedelic. Horror, but action. Yeah. Like nothing like really made me like, oh my god, that looks terrifying.
No, but it looks interesting. Even beyond the Tokyo setting, definitely is like what would sell it for me. But it looks interesting. Yeah, like Japanese do horror just chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Yeah. Anyone who's played Fatal Frame, yeah. I haven't, and I've always wanted to. That's like one of those games that like has been on my list, but I've never had the like right console for it. Yeah. Hitman 3 was also announced. My biggest, and you saw me freaking out. Oh my god. Was Demon Souls. Is it? It's gotta be. I was like, no way. I was like, there's no way. I was freaking out. And yeah, Demon Souls, it was announced, and it looks like a ground up remake, not like just like a pretty polish and like they did with Spyro. Yeah, it looks like a Spyro. It looks like where they like literally didn't just take assets and make them pretty. They like literally built it up and boop, 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 boop. Yeah. That looked amazing. Village Resident Evil. Now, when this was being shown, I was like, it's kind of reminding me of Resident Evil. Like nothing about it is Resident Evil, but I was just like, why do I feel like it's Resident Evil? And sure enough, it's Resident Evil 8 with the VILL it being an 8. Yeah. Roman numerals. It's got a lot of elements from Resident Evil 7, which was surprising. That was a surprise game. We watched Markiplier play it, and I really enjoyed watching that playthrough. Yeah, that's what we do. Yeah. Guilty. That's what we do with a lot of PlayStation games, since we have not been able to afford or really have the means to invest in a PlayStation. If we're really interested in a game, sometimes we'll watch other people do like Let's Plays and stuff. Yeah. So like Soma. Oh god. Is that part of me that wishes I had played it now though? Yeah. But so like guilty, like if there's like things that like things we don't have access to because of a game, like a console difference, then we'll support other creators and watch their stuff. Yeah. But Village looked amazing. That was probably my favorite game that we saw from this event. Deathloop, like I said, we already kind of talked about it earlier, but that's that Assassin one. That one looks really, that was my standout. I thought it just looked interesting. The art looked really nice, and it was exciting to watch. Like, I don't know. That was probably my standout. Sweet, yeah. Oh, it wasn't that, you mean, and we'll get to this next game, but yeah. Pragmata looked really crazy. It looked like a Kojima game. Some astronaut was in the middle of Times Square, and some little girl, and they caught some giant thing in the air. Then they're on the moon. Yeah, we were like, Kojima? Yeah. And then it was Capcom? Yeah, it was Capcom. And yeah. Like, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of hard to have any opinion on that. Yeah. And it's a 2022 release, so that's probably why it was so mysterious. Like, it's probably early in development. No, for sure. And Horizon 2 Forbidden West. Now this is the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn, which was one of the best exclusives that came out for the PlayStation 4. And something that would have been a potential console seller for me if the consoles weren't so expensive. Yeah, and it didn't come out 2 years ago or a year ago. Spider-Man and Horizon 2 are two games that would tempt me to buy a PlayStation. Yeah. And the fact that there are two new ones coming out gives me motivation, but it goes back into I would need the first two games to also be on the PlayStation 5. So it all goes back into that I need to have access to those other things to want to move forward on a purchase like that. No, for sure. We personally don't have any experience with Horizon, but I hear praises to the moon about it. So I'm sure a lot of people are extremely excited about it.
Little spoilers though, we didn't know that it took place in I didn't know it took place in like the actual world.
In real world, yeah.
Yeah, like a future.
We saw San Francisco. We were like, oh.
I was like, oh, okay.
Okay. But it was cool. That made it even more interesting though.
Yeah,
it
definitely.
Makes me more interested in it, and it makes the title and everything make sense. Like the Forbidden West, they're coming to the. Okay, exactly. I get it. I understand, and I haven't played.
Okay, now I know I kind of went in like a order of like the heavy hitters is what we just talked about, and these are just interesting looking games that we'll just kind of blast through. Project Athia, I can't even remember it now, but it looked interesting. Your game of the show though has to be Stray. Am I right?
Yeah.
Cat simulator. In a
dystopian cyberpunk cat simulator.
Yeah.
If I can be a cat, then it's like R2 aesthetics coming together.
Yeah, it really is.
Crazy cat lady and cyberpunk.
Exactly. In this world, apparently humans are dead, and then robots now live with. We're assuming cats.
Those poor cats. Like, do you think a robot knows how to give them the good head scratches? I don't know.
They don't know what they're missing.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's why they have backpacks and they're all
Game of the year 2022,
2020,
2021, 22, whatever year it releases, game of the year, hands down. I can just.
Sackboy's Big Adventure, which Little Big Planet has always been a really big like part of PlayStation. So Sackboy's Big Adventure, that's a solo co-op 4-player co-op game. It even looks like it's couch co-op, so like I think it's good for the family and stuff like that. Destruction All Stars was really odd. The art style was really cool.
Yeah.
There's cars driving around everywhere. There's people walking and running and stuff being destroyed.
The thing is, though, is it was more confusing than it was.
Yeah.
Like, it was interesting. It looked cool. But then I had just so many questions walking out of, like, that one. Like, okay, so are you a person running away from the car? Do you, like, get knocked out of a car and then you have to, like, I don't know.
It was odd.
It's interesting, but I just have too many questions.
For sure. Kenna, Bridge of Spirits. That one looked cool. That one was the one with the little girl. She had like a staff, and then like the little Ghibli, like the Studio Ghibli, characters came out.
That one looked cute.
Yeah, that one was cool. It gave me a lot of like Breath of the Wild vibes. Yeah.
I got very Studio Ghibli.
Goodbye Volcano High. What an odd looking game. The art style was like, I kind of hated it, but I kind of liked it, and it was really edgy.
Yeah.
It was really. Yeah.
I just got no comment on that one.
Okay, we'll move on. Jet the Far Shore. I don't think you remember this one, but
remember
it looked interesting as well. Solar Ash. It's made by Hyper Light Drifter developers, which I think was a mobile game. Really, really, really good mobile game. That one looked interesting. It looked cool. Little Devil Inside. That one was the kind of Pixar-y almost looking one, where there was like an adventurer walking around, then his master or something was like literally just chilling in his house.
It's funny is because I remember having thoughts on it.
Yeah.
But I'm totally drawing a blank, like the title and everything.
Yeah.
I know. I'm drawing a blank though on that.
It's okay. No worries.
I mean, I have to be drawing a blank when the next one up is Bug Snacks.
Bug Snacks.
That theme song though, Chef's Kiss again.
Yeah,
like, woo.
That's the one. What a strange game.
Are we allowed to put video in here? Because I just want to put in that frame where that I just remember it ate something and it literally just disappeared.
Yeah.
Like it didn't even it just went poof.
No,
it was so unpolished. I was like, what?
So I don't want to bag on the developers or anything because I'm pretty sure that's intentional. And I don't want it to this next comment to come off like I'm being an asshole, but it literally looked like that game was made in dreams, and they just stole it from whoever made it.
Yeah.
But I'll put the video. Hopefully I'd put a video.
Here. if we can, we're gonna pop right here because I just thought it was. I remember the two things I remember from that is just the theme song being like, this is kind of a bop. In a really obnoxious trolly way, and then I just remember it just going,
yeah.
What? It was unpolished. I think is is the biggest thing.
I think that's what they were going for. They know it's so ridiculous and absurd that
they went to the info.
They're just like, it's okay. And
I guess I just expect it to be polished because it's a PlayStation game.
No, for sure. That's definitely like a smaller.
And it's not like an indie game. It's like hey, here's in our actual like conference. Like I think that's where I like I was just like, yeah, I guess that makes sense though, being unpolished to be trolly.
Yeah.
Because when you're big enough of a game to get into this, that has to be intentional.
It has to, yeah. And games that I was just kind of meh about was NBA 2K21. I'm not a sports fan at all.
Mm-mm.
My lord, if everyone in Valorant can stop asking me if my name is based off of Kyrie Irving, the basketball player, like I would really appreciate that. Like my name is Irving. I don't watch sports. Every time I play Valorant, they're always like, "Oh yeah, that's why Kyrie Irving sucks because you suck too," or I don't know, something. Valorant's toxic. Anyways, Astro's Playroom. That looked like a cute little like game.
I know you're like games I met about, and I'm like, oh, that looks cute.
It's a cute game. It's a little family game, you know. It's yeah, it was cute. Yeah, I'm just kind of whatever. And then Returnal, I remember it thinking it looked cool, but then it also looked kind of generic.
Which one that is?
It was like a space explorer. It was like a Live Die Repeat.
Oh yeah.
Where she would crash land in the planet.
Yeah.
They would attack her. She would die. She would and just go back over again.
What's funny about that concept is that's basically also the same concept as Deathloop.
Deathloop, yep.
And like, I think that's why I just kind of forgot it existed.
Exactly.
Because, not to be a jerk, but it's such a overused idea that it basically was the same idea twice in the same conference.
Yeah.
But one just had looked more interesting. So one was more impressive and the other was kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
Like I totally, and I remember making that comment while we were watching it, but then it was so forgettable that I was like, what's Returnal?
Yeah.
I only remember it because the graphics were really nice. That's the only thing I can see is the graphics looked really nice, and I thought it was going to be like something else. And then it was like, oh, these are two of the same concepts.
Yeah, pretty much. Not to discredit it at all, but yeah, it is just something that, because when I was writing the list, I was like, I'm getting a game, and I was like, oh yeah, that game.
Yeah. Oh, and two, like all of these are just previews. Like thoughts can change, and like opinions can change, and things might become a lot more interesting as more stuff is released.
Yeah.
These are of course just those like first initial opinions on a trailer, like which really means nothing.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think more than anything, like I said, it just kind of goes to show like the amount of games that were shown, and just like reading over them again, I'm just like, man, they really did just have some good like heavy hitters, and they came out swinging. So now, the piece of the resistance.
Excuse me. Sorry.
It's okay. The very last thing they showed, and the most anticipated thing that people were looking forward to about this event,
was a brand new tower in Dubai.
Yeah, brand new tower in Dubai.
The new PlayStation tower in Dubai.
Yeah, the new air fan. Insert memes here.
The new router.
The new router, yeah. Or the router you currently have already, you know.
With 2 pieces of paper taped to the side.
Yeah. You know, Seto Kaiba. The PlayStation 5. It was shown off. And it was very, you know, it's funny because like I'm going to say like it's very not what I expected, but what did I expect after looking at the controller? Am I right?
To be fair, I expected the same old, which again, not to be a jerk, but that's what PlayStation's done. Literally, PlayStation 2, 3, and 4 look like brothers.
Yeah.
They all look related. They all look like they're in the same family. PlayStation 1 doesn't, but it was like the first.
Yeah.
And then this just like, it's not a bad look, but I don't know if maybe I'm just so like, I like that everything looked the same, and like maybe it was really boring. And I get they wanted to like step out of the box, but I think that's the biggest thing is like no one expected it because every console has looked related. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Which is so strange because what they said was they wanted to design a console that looks elegant in your living room. And I'm just going to flat out and say it that is not, I don't know what furniture you have in your house. Maybe if you're a PlayStation executive and you make millions of dollars and you can make your house look like, you know, the Parasite house, the Parasite movie house, like, and make it super, you know, pristine and really nice and beautiful, and the architecture is great, but that does not look like it would naturally fit in someone's
in a normal person's home.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a interesting design. I'm right there with you where like it looks so cohesive up to PlayStation 4 that this is just so out of left field. And man, the memes are just fire, man. I swear.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Someone said it looks like an Xbox 360 or eating a PlayStation 2.
It does. It does.
And it's you know, I also heard that like had this leaked like a month before, this also looks like what people expect, you know, like the fan renderings and like fake leaks and stuff like that. Everyone would have dismissed it. Yeah, everyone would be like, oh, that's fake. Yeah, oh, that's fake. There's no way it's gonna look like that.
To be fair though, the Xbox doesn't look great either.
No.
I don't think either of the consoles this generation aesthetically look nice. Like, I don't know. I feel like I'm someone like I'm all about aesthetic and I'm like, oh yeah, make it look really cool. But maybe I'm just getting old. I'm just like, I'm looking at my Xbox like One right now, and I'm like, that looks nice. It's like got some nice, interesting aesthetics to it. Yeah, but it's really plain. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm like that person where I'm like, I don't want my console to like, I'm not buying it as an art piece.
Yeah.
Like, I want it to look nice, but I think for something like that, there's like niceness and simplicity. And I don't know. It's weird because I don't hate it.
Yeah.
But something about it is just off. And I think for me, I think it's the fact that it's an upward tower. Because I just find like look at our setup here in our room. Like, where would we put that? We and I mean, this is like obviously like personally, like our design is like layered up, and that's just so up. Like, and I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, it's complete. No, because actually, one of the things that people are like kind of like worried about is the height. Because it is huge.
Yeah.
It's big. It's bigger than a normal Xbox One. And, you know, surprisingly, believe it or not, the Xbox Series X is smaller than this standing up. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so this PlayStation is bigger than this. So, like, and this is just what, like, I think it's either speculations or nothing really official has come out, but it's a chunky
It looks
boy.
big.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because if you look at it and you look at how small that disk drive is, that right there should tell you exactly how freaking big that thing is.
That's very true.
And like, I know for me, like our Xbox 360, the issue I always had was the standing up, and I know that that's such a random small complaint. But I mean, if you can lay that down flat, then I might like it. But then it kind of obviously if they are showing it standing up, that's the design plan, or like that's how they intend for it to be look and it's just big.
this might bother you then, because you actually can bring it down. Okay. You can lay it flat. How would you think that you would lay that flat? Would the disk drive be on top or would it be on the bottom?
Disk drive's on top because of that I was like, I'm gonna say it and I'm gonna be wrong because otherwise you wouldn't have brought it up, because that's what makes sense.
The disk drive is on the bottom, so you've got that weird it's not that big of a deal. It's just a console, but like you gotta
again though, like I'm just like, I kind of like the idea of things being in a family. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of when Dad brings his younger girlfriend to a wedding. She's like boobs out and like you know what I'm talking about?
A little too flashy, yeah.
Yeah, when you got the flashy younger girlfriend that you're bringing as like that is so specific. I'm so sorry, podcast. Like, but we're wedding photographers, so like I feel like,
no, you're right.
I know that's so specific, but like,
like
you know,
yeah,
like Dad's bringing his like 23-year-old girlfriend and her like boobs out and like I don't know, like that's what I feel like if you put that next to your family of consoles, that's what it's gonna look like.
It looks a little out of place. The biggest thing that actually surprised me from this, besides the console, the design, was that we're getting two. Which is weird because nothing indicated that they were gonna have two consoles. There was like a few speculations, but nothing really indicated. Now the biggest what's it called? Xbox had more credit to be able to have two consoles. They had more of like rumors that there was going to be two consoles. They only showed one during December's showcase, but probably in July they'll show off the Lockhart, which is exactly what it is. It's a smaller diskless drive console, which presumably will be cheaper. Yeah. But this is, I think, the first time in a console generation where we have a launch of two consoles, right? From the same generation or from the same like family. So PlayStation 5 is doing a disc version and a discless, which is the first time it's ever happened, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. We know that the PlayStation 5 it was expensive to make.
Yeah.
So assuming from my assumptions, I think the discless version will be $500 and the one with the disc will be $600.
Here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to touch on a sore subject probably. Is this going to be backwards compatible for old discs? Because the discless makes perfect sense for someone like us.
Yeah.
Who, if we were to come into PlayStation finally, it's great because we have nothing from the previous generation that we would want to replay. Yeah. So it's like it's a great starter for those who want a PlayStation. If it's a little bit cheaper, that's great. And we have no old discs that we would want to play. So it makes sense. But if you have PlayStation 4 or 5, what are we on? 4 or 5? If you have PlayStation 4 games, like, would you be able to pop that in that disc, or is it just starting all over again? Like, that's always kind of been my issue with the PlayStation ecosystem.
So, 2 things. 1, PlayStation has said that they want to have this console just be the console and stuff like that. So, like, backwards compatibility is not on the top of their radar. It never has been, which is so ironic because people forget about this. Too. People forget about that when Xbox One was announced and they had that whole debacle about that, like, you needed, it was going to use like you needed to buy one edition and that's it, and it was going to read your edition and all that stuff, and you can't game share and all this other stuff, and there wasn't any backwards compatibility already set. Literally, that same E3, PlayStation was like, oh, how does PlayStation 4's games going to work? Oh, it's like this. Hand it to your friend. Now you can borrow my game. And then also, by the way, we're going to have a crap ton of backwards compatibility. Everybody, that blew everyone's mind. They were so hyped. They were so hyped on that. And to this day, PlayStation 4's backwards compatibility does not compare to how amazing Xbox's backwards compatibility has gotten.
Yeah. With
that being said, PlayStation 5 they have said that PlayStation 5 will support up to the top 100 PlayStation games. It's very vague and really weird, but it does not hold up to what Xbox currently has right now and will have because of the system that they're going to have.
Here's my thing is I stopped at PlayStation 2, and I will honestly say that was one of my favorite consoles ever. Mm-hmm. But what I didn't realize, because I was so young at the time, is the reason it was backwards compatible, right, is it had 2 different readers in the thing. Mm-hmm. And I only realized that as an adult when my PlayStation 1 reader broke. Yeah. And I couldn't play PlayStation 1 games, but I could play PlayStation 2 games. But, so, I understand that there's more things that go into backwards compatibility. Mm-hmm. But I think it's so important in a gaming ecosystem, because yes, you can keep an old console, you can have 2 consoles, you can play those, but what happens when that dies? So I have a PlayStation, I still have my PlayStation 2, and I have PlayStation 1 games I can't play. I can't do anything with. I don't think a lot of people will oppose even buying that game again per se so far out, but it just seems like it should just be the natural progression, which is where Xbox has that mentality of it's not about the console, it's about being a part of our ecosystem and being a part of our community. Yeah. That's where things get weird. And that's honestly one of the big reasons when I made my initial decision to go Xbox is I literally I remember sitting there and going, okay, I have a decision to make. I have a PlayStation 2 and I want a new console. Mm-hmm. Do I get a PlayStation 3 or do I get an Xbox 360? And the reason it was so easy to walk away from PlayStation is I couldn't carry those games over. I was having to start over no matter what decision I made. And all of my friends, I had all of my friends who played online played on Xbox. So it just didn't make sense to, if I could have carried those games over to the PlayStation 3, that would have been the decision maker for me. Yeah. So I think it's just that's one of the issues with Sony is they make it easy to walk away if you are in that dilemma. Mm-hmm. Xbox makes it easier to stay. Yeah. So.
No, and I think that also goes back into the culture, right, where we were just talking about, because Nintendo is very notorious about that as well.
Same thing.
There are games that are literally being lost to time because of just they don't port them, port them over, or like they're literally stuck on one console. And like even when it comes down to like, you know, currently right now, like it's funny because I literally just said that they're having an issue with that, but they do remasters, they port things over left and right and all that stuff. But like, look at the Wii, the original Wii downloading, you know, what's it called, the shop, that's dead. Like you can't do anything. Like all your games are stuck on there. Exactly. Like the Wii U is inevitably gonna be like that as well. And it's just backwards compatibility. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's just that peace of mind, that ease, you know, that you have these games that you want to play, or you want to introduce people to, or when you have kids, you're like, oh, play this game. I played this as a kid, you know.
It's funny too, because I also see that also makes the cultural difference of like, so when we went to Japan, all of the Akiba shops that like where you have these like shops that have old consoles that are refurbed and all the games, and that's the only way you can get those games and you can play those games. So it makes sense why that is such a big business in Japan, because it's those games you can't get. Like, so it goes back into like these two cultural mindsets and differences. And I can see the beauty in that, in the sense that like, oh, I can go and I like, and things are being reused, reduced, recycled, and you're doing it in an authentic way.
Yeah.
But like you said, at the same time though, once all those cartridges wear out and they eventually die, like that game is gone.
Yeah.
Because there's not that same mindset. It seems like in Japan where it is here, where and it's an ease too. It's an ease of, what do you say? Like an ease of transition too.
Yeah.
So I just think at the end of the day, it's like everyone talks about the console wars, but it's just two different mindsets. Two different like cultural mindsets on how they're running their companies.
Yeah. So with the PlayStation event being done and we went over everything, our thoughts on the box, our thoughts on the game and everything like that, the last thing to discuss, because you can't talk about one console without talking about the other. So what does this mean for Xbox? Or is Xbox in trouble?
No.
No?
No, there's always going to be a base for both. There's always going to be people who love both. I do think that I kind of thought I was going to like Xbox slowly releasing things. Like as it was happening, I really liked that.
Yeah.
But now that we've just had a big showcase from PlayStation, like hands down, they knocked it out of the ballpark. I can't remember anything from Xbox at this point, really. Like,
yeah, I mean, the May showcase was really underwhelming.
Yeah, there's very little that was memorable. Like, they had a better showcasing for sure. But now we have months and months of hopefully just news after news after news after news.
Yeah.
Up to the potential, like, fall release.
Yeah. So July is when Xbox is going to have an event. They need to show Halo. They need to show big games, because May was a disappointment. Everyone's expectations for May was to the level of what PlayStation just did right now. Maybe
they were holding out. Maybe I kind of think they've also been waiting for PlayStation to finally pull the trigger.
Like, show their hands.
Yeah. So now maybe they're like, okay. Like,
yeah. They have to, though, because like we said, like PlayStation did have a great showcase. Yeah. They really knocked it out of the park.
And they've always had the upper hand with exclusives and a big Japanese gaming market as well, on top of exclusives that come to America.
Yeah.
So they've always definitely had the library over Xbox. And
yeah,
Xbox really they do need to step something up. Like honestly though, like I never go for a console first year of release. I usually wait. I wait for a few more things to come out, and I wait until I feel like I really am ready to pull the trigger on a new console.
And anyways. I think that's what Xbox does have the upper hand on, because of their smart delivery and the way that they're handling this generation. They're not just like abandoning the Xbox One or even like players who play on PC or Project xCloud. Like that's all integrated. And if you buy a first-party game through whatever system you get, and in the future you want to upgrade to Series X,
it's there.
You have it there. Which I think that's where they have the upper hand, especially what we just talked about right now, as far as like backwards compatibility and stuff like that. They definitely have the upper hand, and I completely agree with you when you said that you really liked how Xbox handled everything up to that point. But
But once you see a great showcase like this, it's a little like, oh, okay, now everything that I've seen is kind of underwhelming. And...
Exactly. Yeah.
But with PlayStation, it also feels like, okay, new generation. If you really want the exclusives and all this, you gotta buy. Like, it's just, they're doing the pow good. Like, yeah, no, for sure. Like, they're like, at least if you're gonna have to upgrade, they're like, here's all this great stuff we're gonna give you when you do it, and they're doing that right. No, for sure.
We'll have to see what happens in July. There's a lot of rumors going around. Perfect Dark Zero or Perfect Dark series with Joanna Dark. Apparently they're gonna get a reboot similar to God of War, how God of War rebooted their stuff. So you have that down the pipeline. There's also Playground Games, people who do Forza. So Forza developers, they're rumored to do Fable 4 or a Fable reboot in a sense.
It's a classic.
Yes, which is a classic, which actually makes me sad because I would love Forza Horizon 5 to be set in Japan. Do it, Playground Games, please. Like, oh my gosh, like their weather system in Forza 4 was so good, and I would just love to be able to just drift in the Japanese mountains during cherry blossom season. Make it happen. So we have that. Obviously, Halo is the biggest fall release. Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
And they have to show it in July.
Yeah.
I think they're really they had
pushing their luck.
They are like PlayStation had their backs to the wall, but man, they came out swinging, and now it looks like Xbox is up against the rope. But I mean, that's the exciting part about this, right?
I was gonna say, the thing is, it's like everyone wants to talk about console wars, but at the end of the day, the console wars are great because we as the players are the ones who win, and we get the best out of this. Like, we get so much. Like, no matter what side of the fence you end up being on, or even if you have both and you love both, like, you win in the end. Like, that's like one of the nice things about not having a total monopoly in a thing is they're constantly having to do things to prove why should you join my console versus this one. And it's a win for all of us.
Yeah.
So
no, definitely.
It sounds cheesy.
No, you're completely right. Yeah.
So now that we've seen that, come on, Xbox. I want to root for you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I have you. I want you to do better. Yeah. So hopefully we'll see some really cool stuff.
Yeah. But only time will tell.
Only time will tell. Yeah. We've got an exciting few months ahead of us with the lead up to the console releases. So.
Oh, for sure. All right. Well, that was our first episode.
Yeah.
Sorry we rambled on a lot, but I hope that you guys enjoyed. I genuinely hope you guys enjoyed. I had a good time talking.
I did. This was fun. Yeah. This was really fun. So we're still a little awkward in figuring this out. So a few episodes are going to be a little... We're working on it.
Yeah. But I want to thank everybody for joining us today.
Thank you so much, you guys. We really appreciate it, especially if you sat through this whole thing. And any support in it, we really appreciate. We're going to keep doing it whether you like it or not.
Hopefully you like it, but we're going to keep doing it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. I hope you guys have a great week. Take care.